Says, hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Baldocks with me, Neil Baldock, and
And me, Matt Baldock.
as you.
No,
Yeah, and
you do. Can you just do your hello again? You do a really good hello at the start. It's elongated.
hello.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's how it started, but um, so hello, maybe
hello.
like that.
That's it.
And yeah, another episode of Talking Baldocks, which we're already doing. This week we are going to be talking about what we think it takes the characteristics of a person to become a self-employed agent or indeed a full business owner and run your own business. Because I think there's some core kind of characteristics that run through everybody and that you know people probably need to know. And if you haven't got those, you either need to acquire them before or realize actually maybe that's not for me. So yeah, I've got a few ideas, but do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously we've just celebrated the year anniversary of our property partners, Joe and Lionel Stoll. So big up the Stoles. And they've been very successful in their first year, and it just kind of got me thinking. Self-employed is probably the easiest phrase to use. Everybody knows what it means. Personally, I don't like that terminology. I prefer kind of independent business owner because I think people should create actual businesses as opposed to just being self-employed. But that's me in the semantics. So yeah, and I also think it's very prevalent in the way you look at the industry news almost every day. EXP have just announced their 700th. Obviously, TAUK have just merged with the agency with Chris Buckler. So Chris and Steph, congratulations to them. So it's out there and people are doing it. And there will be people on the sidelines thinking, oh, I fancy that, I fancy that, but they're not really sure if they can have it. And I think so. Probably the first thing you need is courage.
Mm,
You know, courage, and actually courage was courage to start and courage to be open to failing. We were having a chat with somebody yesterday in a completely different sector to us, who has his own business and was thinking about launching another business. And the one thing I said to him is, don't let the thought of failing stop you from doing it.
mm.
Because generally, when you don't, if you do something and you fail, we do unfortunately have this mindset in this country where people go, "Oh, I knew that would never work," or it's strange. Rather than championing people for trying, we seem to celebrate failures a bit. And you can excuse me, you cannot let that put you off. So you have, yes, it's a very brave step to leave employment, the safety net, and I know people have their views on, well, you could be made redundant, so there is no safety in employment, but there is a general safety net of employment. So the courage to leave that, but the courage to understand, to not let the thought of failure stop you from doing it. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about other people's opinions, especially people on Facebook. If you believe you can do something, go and do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to be you've got to be able to take some risks, haven't you? You've got to be a bit of a risk taker and an action taker. And I think those two things go hand in hand a bit because if you're willing to take action, you're generally willing to take some risks. And I think that's one of the main things is like people who overthink things um, just don't take the action, whereas you're actually better to take the action and either it goes well or you fail fast. So take action fast and fail fast, or don't do it at all. Because if you sit there thinking and thinking and thinking, it just doesn't happen. And that's where people get ahead. Is the action takers are the ones who crack on and do it, even if things aren't perfect. They're still doing things, and they're out of the starting blocks. They're out of the gates before the people who are waiting for the perfect storm, the perfect circumstances, the perfect everything. So I think, yeah, the ability to take a risk, a calculated risk, of course, but an action taker is like a main characteristic, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, action taker, that's probably the second thing I was going to mention. You have to work hard, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
ultimately, there is no point kind of prettying this up and making it sound anything other than it is, which is bloody hard work. And you know it's hard work because the amount of people that kind of go, this work-life balance thing that's bounced around. Everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna, it's hilarious. You kind of get people going, oh, if you're employed, you're an idiot because you haven't got the work-life. Oh, I'm going to become self-employed so I can do what I want. And then literally within 3 weeks of this person being self-employed, I see posts on LinkedIn going, open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and it's like, well, that's not that. But there is no denying for the first year to 2 years, you have to work bloody hard. Me and you have dealt with people in the past that think they can go down a coffee shop, take an Instagram selfie, do one social media post a day, and the business is going to come running into them. And it isn't. You actually have to. It might look easy from the outside. You think, oh, someone's doing a couple of social media posts, but believe me, in the background, they're doing some serious work to even get people to look at those posts and obviously and have conversations with people. So yeah, I don't think we want to. It's not easier as such. It's easier mentally in a different way because you're making your own rules and you're doing things, your own way, and you can have the work-life synergy, I call it. So you can stop work for a few hours in the afternoon to spend time with the kids, and then you can pick up again in the evening if you wanted. Um, but there is no denying you've got to have an incredible work ethic.
100%. And I think what's really important for people to realize is that if there does become a time where there is a work-life balance, that doesn't come day one.
No.
If anything, actually, you're going to be doing longer days, or actually, you should be on day one doing longer days than you were doing when you were employed. You should be working a lot harder than when you're employed to get it off the ground, if you're going to make a success of it. So, anyone that you look at who has got a successful business with a team of staff and they look like they're doing less. Um, Number one, they're probably not doing less, and we can attest to that. They're doing just as much, but they're just doing different things. Um, but also, you don't get that day one. You earn that. You earn that over time. You don't become a self-employed estate agent, and on day one, you can work 4 hours a day. Like that is just not realistic. So yeah, I think people you're gonna when you're starting your own business, going self-employed, whatever terminology you choose to use or whatever model you choose to join, and whether they call it a brokerage or a franchise or whatever, I think you've got to realise it's bloody hard work, and you've got to put the hard yards in to earn the is it an easier life when you build the business? I don't know, because you have different worries when you've got a team of 10, 20 staff than you do when you're on your own. You have a different worry once you get to 50 staff, I'm sure. So it's I don't think it ever gets any easier as such. It just gets a different challenge. And the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is you've got to earn that by putting the hard yards in, from day one. Um, I think the other thing um, is resilience. That's one massive thing for me. Is like this core thing of resilience, and we some people come to us and talk to us about joining our franchise model, and I say they say I want to give this a try. And I always, as soon as someone says to me, I want to give this a try, those words are a red flag for me
Yeah.
because this isn't something you try, like this is something you do and you
Mhm.
make it work. And if you're going to give it a try, probably don't bother because trying isn't isn't good enough in my book. This is like I'm gonna do this. I'm committing to it. I'm gonna make it work. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But there's no reason it shouldn't work, bearing in mind we know how to make it work. But I think resilience is like a key thing where that will see you through the tough times if you've got that resilience within inside you.
Yeah, no, I agree because you are going to have some terrible days. So I think when it becomes your own business, everything means so much more to you, and that's great. So when you list the property, you agree the sale, you get the exchange, you hand over the keys. It's not just you're going to earn more money out of it. It actually will mean more to you because you've had a bigger part to play in that person's life. So and you've done more. But by the same token, the fall throughs they kill
Mm.
from a financial point of view, but also, and I think because most people I know that go in to become their own business owners, they really do put their heart into it. And so it kind of not that I'm not when I was employed, I didn't like telling people houses had fallen through. I still felt so. I'm not saying that that's the case, but I think when you're employed, you probably spend a bit more time with these people. You take on less clients, but you're probably a bit more involved in their lives, and so it hurts a bit more. So I think the ups everything's heightened. The ups are really fantastic, but the downs are there, and so you have to, and it won't all be plain sailing. So as you say, you have to have that resilient mindset to kind of go again and think, right, that's that. Much like we say in sales, you're only ever as good as your last month. You can't have one really good week and dine off that for the next 51 weeks. By the same token, you can't cry about a bad week for the next 51 weeks. If it goes wrong, you've got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, look at your support network, whichever model you're with, whoever you've got around you, and kind of go again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's, I think that just translates into winners, doesn't it? If people lose if the athletes lose the running race and then don't ever run again, they're
Mhm.
never going to win the gold medal at the Olympics. In any sport, once you lose, you pick yourself back up and you go again, and you make sure you win the next one. I think adaptability as well is another huge one. One thing I personally think, and I guess there is a slight difference in um, being a self-employed agent to a business owner and potentially, but adaptability. So sometimes people will start a business, an estate agency business, for instance, and it's very hard to make an estate agency business work these days without having a lettings business, um, and adding on financial services and referrals and things like that. Most businesses, once you get under the bonnet of them, most successful businesses actually operate on multiple streams of income. And if you become a business owner who I just want to be an estate agent, I only want to sell houses, and that's the only place I want to earn my money. Yes, that's possible, but it makes things a lot more difficult. So, and obviously, when market forces or government things come in and affect that market, if you're not adaptable and you're not open to having your hand in another income stream, then business can get difficult. So I think and you only learn that through going through it yourself. But if you're coming into this and you're adaptable and you're willing to earn money out of different things, I think that makes your life a lot easier as well.
Yeah. So I kind of had probably a similar thing as you were talking before. I wrote down an open mind and a growth mindset.
Yeah, yeah,
So again, and I following my story, your story, and which I share, I think is like most. You're an employed agent, and then you decide you want to go and do your own thing. I think the world of agency is vastly different to you realize when you're an employed agent and for a corporate. This isn't me putting the corporates down. They can give some amazing training, that kind of thing. But on the whole, my experience working for corporates was you're trained, you're the best, and everybody else is the enemy, kind of kill, 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 and you don't be so when you first come out, into the self-employed world, you don't realize just how much better you can be by talking to other agents and not knowing anything. Like, listen, I was an employed agent for 10 years and I was an amazing lister and I won all the awards, etc., etc. I wasn't even a quarter of the agent I am now. I came out and I thought I knew it all, but I didn't. And you still don't. I think it was Vicky Biberius once said a quote I heard saying, "You should learn as if you're never going to die," which I think is amazing. And you should always be learning. But I think the one thing you should be open to in is collaboration because there are agents out there now that want to talk to you, want to help you, want to see you succeed. Because there's so many agents out there that understand we're better together. So actually, if one of us succeeds and the other fellow doesn't, but if we all succeed, and it will be non-competing markets, so there's enough really to go around. As a whole agency is then lifted, and then that does you better because I've always maintained the best way for us to increase our fees is to get every other agent in Chelmsford to increase their fees because let's all go out and compete at between 1.9 and 2%. How much nicer would that be than the 0.75s and the ones? So have an open mind, realize you didn't know it all. Hart, Connells, William H. Brown, Countryside leaders, their textbooks might be great, but they're not the only way. Realize there is other things out there. Um, and have that growth mindset. So always be learning and be learning from within the estate agency profession, but also be learning from without. So as we get some of our, go out when you go out for dinner, the customer service you get there, you go into a car showroom, the customer service you get there, you can learn from so many different places, little bits you can kind of put into your own business. And the fantastic thing is, and even more so from when we first started, the amount of stuff out there available online, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook for free. There is just libraries and libraries of people sharing best practice ideas, and you can kind of hoover that all up and take the bits that feel most comfortable for you to put in.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you've got to be you've got to be into learning, and I mean, not as you know, I hated school. I hate exams. I generally hate any form of academic learning. But once you become a business owner, you need to be learning all the time, and so that doesn't have to be academic stuff. And as you say, I'm not a massive reader of books, but I consume a hell of a lot of content on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're probably more of a reader of books than I am. But there's podcast books. There's just so much stuff out there, but you've got to be willing to learn, haven't you? There's definitely yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck in your ways. And if you're not, and the thing is, whilst the state agency the the core service of an estate agency doesn't change. There's other things that are changing over time, different marketing techniques that work. All this AI stuff that's now coming in and is undoubtedly going to change the industry over the next few years. So you can't not learn.
Oh mate, yeah, it's unreal. I say this on my valuations. Like 23, 24 years ago, I put you in the paper once a Thursday. And that was pretty, and we spoke and we phoned buyers, and that was all we had. I mean, I remember going around people's living rooms telling them we were on Fish for Homes and it being like some mind-blowing thing. So, you used to put in the paper once a Thursday. Now we've got to know about Facebook, Instagram, obviously TikTok's coming in. We've got drone footage, professional photos, video walkthroughs, and as you say, AI is coming. So yeah, you have to constantly be learning.
I think the other thing, which goes back to being open to learning, being adaptable, if you're going to go self-employed or start your own business, you've got to realize that your things are going to be different from when you were employed. So, you might have been a fantastic lister at your job, um, but where do you think those valuations were coming from? How were those leads coming into your business? And I think that's one thing. When you transition from being employed to a business owner, you become everything.
Mhm.
You're no longer a fantastic negotiator only or a fantastic lister only. You are now the marketing department, the finance department, the sales department, the everything department on day one. And you can't get a valuation without generating the lead, because, you know, as we teach people, that everything comes downstream from the lead generation. So you've got to kind of realize, actually, I need to learn about all of that, and I need to realize that on day one, when I'm sat at my own desk now, someone's not just going to ring me up and give me a valuation because I haven't got that brand or I haven't got that reputation until I start marketing myself. And I think that's really important. And we need to talk about marketing because I think people have got to be willing to invest time and money into that. But you've got to kind of be open to the fact that you are going to have a lot to learn because you're now becoming your own head office as such. And I know there's a lot of brokerages that have got, the broker sits as the head office,
Mm.
but the agent's still got to do their own marketing.
Yeah, yeah. And you want to, just because someone's taking care of something else for you, you should always understand it,
Yes.
right? You should always understand what was happening. So, kind of touching on the marketing, but also coming into my original thing, I suppose, about courage. Um, I would suggest you need the courage to not worry about looking silly. So I said about not worry about failing, but not worry about looking silly. So here's a question for you. Do you think in today's world you will be the most successful you can be? I won't say not successful, but the most successful you can be if you don't do video.
No, definitely not. This is a world of video.
Yeah.
It's a world where everybody is consuming video content.
Exactly, and that's the thing for me that we still speak to people about, and that people still seem reticent to do it. Is reticent the right word? That was
Listen, I think you can. I think you can go with that.
good, thank you. As you said, I like to read. And I think that's the thing that holds me back. And the reason they don't do it is because they're worried about looking silly. But we had the thing. I put out a post about personal branding the other day. Your personal brand really is what people say when they meet you if you haven't seen them for years. So I was saying mine is if I bump into someone I went to school with at the supermarket, they generally go, "How are the kids? How's the market?" So people know me as a dad and as an estate agent, right? People would always ask you the same probably. How's Michael? What's the
Yeah,
market like, right? We were out for lunch yesterday. We went to school with their children. We weren't even friends. Their parents were there. First thing they said to us was, "How's the market?" Right? We didn't even know them, so
yeah, yeah.
that shows it. But that's because we have our faces out there, and we are blessed, obviously, that we're particularly pretty. But you know, we have our faces out there, and people know what we do. And I just think if you want people to come to you to sell their house, they need to know, like, and trust you. And the quickest way to get anyone to do that is for them to kind of feel at least like they know who you are, and that's via video.
Yeah, if you're going to run your own business, you have got to not be afraid to put your head above the parapet and dance around and say, "Look at me."
Yeah.
And that, and that is possible, by the way, for um, that is possible for an introvert to do because um, you know, I would sort of say that in some respects, I can be very introverted sometimes. I still get nervous when we go to if there's a big crowd and I've got to talk to a lot of people and things like that. But the reality is you just have to do it. And it's as simple as that, really. I mean, I don't know when we started networking 10 years ago or something. I can still remember standing up in the room in a cold sweat, physically shaking because I had to speak in front of 30 or 40 people. Um, and then, and that's not like that's gone through my life. So I didn't used to even like putting my hand up in the classroom in school and talking in front of the class. Now I'm happy to go on, still nervous doing it, but I will go on stage and talk to however many people you want me to talk to. But you have to do that, and that comes with the resilience piece, I guess. You just have to go through the grind.
Also,
You have to go through the tough bit and grow and learn.
it also comes because you haven't ever had any formal training on that, but it just comes with the fact you've done it so many times now. You learn from your experiences, right? So
Yeah,
at
yeah.
no point have you ever died while speaking on stage.
No,
No
exactly.
point have people rolled around on the floor laughing at you, going, "This guy's an idiot." And so your fears aren't real, and that's the point, isn't it? The little voice in your head that isn't real go, "Oh God, everyone's going to think you're shit," and then you just rely on actual proof, and the actual evidence is what you've done in the past. And you go, "Well, evidentially, that hasn't happened to me yet."
Yeah, yeah. Well, someone
And you can
told
do
me
it
a
from
very good saying once for fear. It actually stands for false evidence appearing real.
there
Uh,
you go.
and I agree. Yeah, and whether you're talking on stage or doing a video, like I say, no one's what bad has ever come from it. Have we had the odd comment, derogatory comment or something? Yes. Have we generated a hell of a lot of business out of it? Hell yes. So, it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, no, exactly. And on the whole, the people that are criticizing, the people that have never done it before, and you generally wouldn't take advice from them in real life, so don't take advice from them online.
Yeah.
It is but I know people get tough, and you have to get out of your comfort zone. Ultimately, I saw somebody else say this once: you look how you look, and you sound how you sound. But that also goes in your favor because I look and sound like this, and I often do videos with this picture behind me and wearing what I'm wearing, and then I turn up at someone's house and I don't take the picture with me, but I still look like this, I sound like this, and I'm wearing what I'm wearing. And they go, "Oh, that makes sense. The guy that was kind of I thought I knew is now here." And then I talk to him in the living room, and I still have the same voice. I don't get changed. That'd be weird.
I was going to
And
say, are you wearing the same clothes every day?
no, as in I don't get changed in their living room, I mean. But yeah, I do obviously get changed of a morning, or well, at night, and then again in the morning. Um, but yeah, for people, it's just that continuity and consistency, and I suppose that's the bit that we probably need to go. I don't know if it's the last bit if you've got anything else to say, but I would also say consistency, and we seem to talk about it in every video, but you have to be consistent to be successful.
You have to be. Consistency, yeah, it runs through everything. And the chap we were out with yesterday, our good friend Mark, one of our videographers, he said it yesterday actually. You don't go down the gym, do one session, and all of a sudden you got massive guns or anything else, do you? If you want a certain physique, you have to consistently go. And the thing is, the consistency stuff is always the boring stuff. So if you want to get ripped, you got to, obviously I've mastered that, as you know.
Yeah.
But you got to be in the gym regularly. You got to do that hard work, and you got to eat the good stuff. If you want a successful business, you've got to do the same. You've got to do the consistent stuff, which is sometimes boring, but we know it works, and you've got to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it over the long term, and not. I think that's the other thing where we're all looking in this life now for these instant results and getting something delivered within 15 minutes or the next day and everything like that. Um, Business doesn't come overnight. You've got, yeah, you're looking for some quick wins, of course, because we need to get the cash flow going, but that's a different conversation. But you've got to put those consistent actions in and just keep repeating them, and then they will. You don't sow seeds on your grass and expect it to grow the next day, do you? You've got to put it down, water it. I mean, I'm not very good at my grass is very, very patchy, so that's not my area of expertise. But you get the point.
Those plants behind you look very green.
Well, yeah, I mean, this my office is fantastic.
Yeah. But I think actually, just to summarize, you could actually put that consistently word in fact in front of everything we've spoken about. So, and I'll probably forget some of the bits, but you need to be consistently resilient, right? There's no point picking yourself up one day but not the next. You need to be consistently brave because again, it's not just about the brave to start. Things will happen all along your journey. You will hit speed bumps, you will get criticism. So you need to be consistently resilient, consistently brave, consistent in your learning, consistently have your open mind be consistently consistent.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
No,
I
should
think
see
the
that.
other thing we probably should touch on. I mean, we're painting, but we're probably painting the worst picture we can. But I think that's a sensible thing to do rather than sell the dream. Tell everybody how hard it is, but the rewards are there, and the rewards are fantastic.
Hmm.
You do have to put that hard work in. But I think it is important to talk about money and finances. And if you're going to start at your own business or go self-employed, the worst thing people I've heard people say to me before is, I can't afford to do any marketing,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
I can't afford things. Well, you're going to have to be able to. Now that can be, it's a dirty word, but borrow some money. And a lot of people that are going self-employed would say, oh, you shouldn't have to borrow money and get into debt to start a business. And yeah, fine, maybe you shouldn't, but
I remortgaged my house.
yeah, we both remortgaged to start this business, and
No. So
13, 14 years on, look where we are.
yeah,
There's many, many businesses that invest either their own money, they borrow money, they remortgage. So borrowing money and investing it, as long as you're investing it and not just, squandering it away,
yeah,
then investing money is not a bad thing. But if you haven't got, if you're not willing or the ability to borrow some money, or you haven't saved up your own funds in order to do this, you can have a hard time. And don't get me wrong, not everything costs money. You can do a lot of marketing now for it, but basically the saying goes really, if you haven't got the money, you need to put the time in, and if you haven't got the time, you put the money in.
mhm.
And so, but I just think it's very important for people to know this is a 6 month lead-in business,
Yeah,
and
100%. I don't want to hear any of this 3 months complete. It's 6 months.
it's a 6 month lead-in, and that's the reality. Um, and even if there are models out there now with advanced commission and things like that, I mean that's great, but it's still not, you still need money behind you. It's still a 6 month thing because you're not going to be generating enough revenue out of some listing fees. So let's just be honest about that and say to people, get yourself financially sound, because you need to be financially savvy to run a business as well. And so you need to be in a position where you know and you understand how to finance this business and how to finance it through your first 6 months and have a plan for that. So yeah, I know I think often money and talking about it is a dirty word, but
No, no, you're correct, but it also goes back to that consistent marketing because what we know is that some people do is they'll like be really busy to stop marketing, or they won't have, I haven't got any money to market, and then they'll have a bumper month. They'll go, I've got some money now, I'll do some leaflets, or I'll do some marketing, and it's too sporadic. So what I would say is, and I mean, just use a really low, simple number, but let's say you decide you need £2,000 to pay your bills and live on, and you want 6 months, so that's 12,000. That's not enough because yes, you need your money to live on to make sure your bills are paid, but you have to have something behind you for marketing. And yeah, you can spend time when you haven't got the money, but let's just be honest, most things do cost a element of money. And so there's no point saying, oh, I'll do some marketing when I get some money in, because it's that vicious cycle. So I think you want to plan yourself, as you say, your living costs, and be honest with yourself what your living costs are. I'm not going to say, don't start making your own clothes, and never buying a coffee, but also look at what you do need to spend, strip it back as much as you can. But also do make sure you give yourself a bit of a budget to spend some money on some marketing. But you box clever with it, because again, in today's world of technology, you can do a tremendous amount of marketing at very low costs.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So, and then just finally, I think the only other thing I'm just going to say is I think you've got to, which is probably ties in a bit with action taking, but also you've got to be a good problem solver, and you've got to be someone who can just make stuff happen. That's my opinion. I think making
You can't be a panicker.
you can't be a panicker, but you've got to be able to make stuff happen. And there are people, like it or not, that can make stuff happen, and people that can't make stuff happen. And you do have to be in the can make it happen camp, not I'm going to try this, but I am going to make it happen. And when something comes up that gets in your way, you don't just go, oh, you actually make it happen, and you find a way to get it done. And I think that is really runs through every business person, every entrepreneur. They've got that ability to make stuff happen.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, we could probably talk. I always say this: we could talk for days on the subject, but
Well,
if
we've done three final things now, so we probably will wrap it up.
I mean, I've got more, but yeah, we'll leave it there. But if anybody wants to chat about it, then obviously they can just reach out to me and Matt. I think we've I left what's classed as the most secure job in the world as a police officer to start this business, and obviously you had a very long-term job and a very sort of senior position um, with the agency that you were with before, and we've both done it. And we're here 14 years later, still growing it and still doing it. So if anyone just wants to chat about it, then
Yeah.
feel free to give us a shout, because we've definitely been through the highs and the lows.
And I think it's important to also mention we have spoken to and advised people either before they started or during their journey that work for pretty much all models as well. So we will just let you know what the self-employed, for want of a better phrase, life is like. We're not, yes, we have a model. There's no point, trying to pretend we don't. But I'm not saying we'll come to us and we'll try and picture on it, because ultimately the great thing about it is different models for different people.
Absolutely, there's a lot
So
of choice.
I just want to make that really clear. We're happy enough to talk to anybody at any stage in their journey. Keller Williams invited me down to a market centre day the other month, which was great of them. We regularly speak to a number of EXP agents, as you know. So yeah, anybody that you just want some chat, want some advice, just reach out to us.
Yeah, cool. So if you're enjoying these podcasts, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Baldock Brothers. You can search this podcast up and find other episodes as well, Talking Baldocks, and that's it. So I'll leave this one to you, Matt.
So I've been Matt Baldock. He's been,
Neil Baldock.
and that's been Talking Bulldogs. We've been Talking Bulldogs.
We have. Goodbye.